Well, it's that magic time again, folks. Welcome aboard for another edition of our show.
That's right.
Here's my good friend, Dwayne Weiss. I'm Bill Crane, and we're ready to rip.
Rip or tear.
Rip or tear. Now, some time ago, perhaps a month or two ago, Dwayne said to me, we should start the show off kind of on a light note with some fun stuff. So I have two remarks, neither one of which are funny. And then I do have some funny stuff to talk about.
Good. Let's do it.
And then we'll sail into the
not that the news has been grim the last couple of weeks.
Oh, awful. So did you watch The Patriots from Germany?
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, I did.
The singer of the German national anthem was a disgrace. And I hope sincerely that she has been put in a loony bin someplace.
I was going to ask you. You had spent time in Germany.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever hearing the German national anthem before. Probably in some points I did. But Monica's out in the kitchen. She says, "What is that? Who's singing that?" It was, I don't know, I don't believe their anthem is supposed to be off-key on different types. It sounded like some of that Arabian music that it's half tones, in between A and B, A flats and stuff. It was horrible.
I don't know anything about that stuff, but I sure as hell know that she hit some notes that were never
printed. Yeah.
The German national anthem. What possesses an artist to do something like that?
She was introduced as a recording star.
Yeah. She should be put away. And whoever hired her should be put away, too.
It was terrible. And
a good note.
What?
I talked to a gentleman up to the post office, Sean, from Old Mill Road, and he said, that's a great show you and your buddy have. And he said, I enjoy it. He said, I look forward to it. And he said, I'm a Vietnam combat vet.
Good.
And he said, he said, you guys tell it like it is. So, Sean, this show's for you, buddy.
Yeah. Fellow vet, thank you for your service and welcome home.
So, I was thinking about funny stuff.
All right.
I went all of a sudden on an impulse to the internet. Gee, I found things on the internet. But here is a bunch of things, that what people actually said, these things, word for word, taken down. It's been taken down and now published by court reporters that had the torment of staying calm while these exchanges were actually taking place.
If you like those, there's a website called BuzzFeed. They got millions of those.
Yep.
A list of funny things that...
This, ladies and gentlemen, is true stuff that happens in a courtroom. Attorney, what was the first thing your husband said to you that morning? Witness, he said, where am I, Kathy? And why did that upset you? She said, my name is Susan.
Yeah.
Attorney, what gear were you in at the moment of impact? Gucci sweats and Reeboks was the answer. Are you sexually active? No, I just lied there.
I've seen that one before.
My myasthenia gravis. Does it affect your memory at all? Yes. And in what way does it affect your memory? I forget. You forget? Can you give us an example of something you forgot? That was a nice exchange. Do you know if your daughter has ever been involved in voodoo? Witness. We both do. Voodoo. We both do. You do? Yes, voodoo.
You can't make this stuff up that you find on there.
Now, doctor, isn't it true that when a person dies in his sleep, he doesn't know about it until the next morning? Witness, did you actually pass the bar exam?
Yeah.
The youngest son, the 20-year-old, how old is he? He's 20, much like your IQ. Were you present when your picture was taken? Are you blanking me? So the date of conception of the baby was August 8th? Yes. And what were you doing at the time? Having sex.
Mm-hmm.
He did it a little bit more colorfully than that.
I can imagine.
She had 3 children, right? Yes. How many were boys? None. Were there any girls? Your Honor, I think I need a different attorney. Can I get a new attorney?
Yep.
How was your first marriage terminated? By death. And by whose death was it terminated? Witness, take a guess.
Yeah.
Can you describe the individual? He was about medium height and had a beard. Was this a male or a female?
Wait a minute, today.
Unless the circus was in town, I'm going with male. Is your appearance here this morning pursuant to a deposition notice which I sent to your attorney? No, this is how I dress when I go to work. Doctor, how many of your autopsies have you performed on dead people? All of them. The live ones put up too much of a fight. All your responses must be oral, okay? What school did you go to? Oral. Do you recall the time that you examined the body? The autopsy started around 8:30 p.m. And Mr. Denton was dead at the time? If not, he was by the time I finished. Are you qualified to give a urine sample? Are you qualified to ask that question? And last and best, doctor, before you performed the autopsy, did you check for a pulse? No. Did you check for blood pressure? No. Did you check for breathing? No. So, then it's possible that the person was alive when you began the autopsy? No. How can you be sure, doctor? Because the brain was sitting on my desk in a jar. I see. But how could the patient have still been alive? I see. But could the patient still have been alive, nevertheless? Yes, it is possible that he could have been alive and practicing law.
Yep.
Good stuff. Folks, if any of you folks didn't get the point of those jokes, feel free to drop us a line and I'll explain them all to you.
They belabor the obvious, most of them.
A couple of things this morning that came to me. On the news, in the latest poll, only 14% of the people say Biden has made them better off.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, he started up around, I think, 52% approval
54,
rating?
58.
Something like that. He's down to 14.
Yeah. That's...
Patriots.
To have them drop is not unusual, but this drop is is drastic. I mean, he
Yeah.
is losing support from people that were ardent supporters of his before.
So let's. I hadn't planned to take it this direction, but let's take it this direction. Do you believe now? I say this, but I don't believe a damn word the media tells us.
I don't either.
But so I'm going to go out on
Well,
a
I
limb
shouldn't say
here.
that. Some of it I do.
Do you
When it comes to news, not editorialized.
like automobile crashes?
Yeah, or the fire in California closing down I-10 and stuff. That I accept. That's news, fact. Yeah. But when it comes to any time that there's an opinion in it, you got to say who is saying this and whose mouth is this coming out of? Because if you switched around channels, you're going to find a whole different.
Well, now the soup du jour, if you will, of commentators are all talking about the turmoil within the Democratic Party.
Yeah, exactly.
That they want Biden out of there.
Mm-hmm.
That's point one.
Well, that's point one. That I think that's accepted now across the board.
Point two.
With rare exceptions.
Point two is they have a bigger problem getting him out of there. What did they do with Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
So point three is, what the hell do they do with the pair of them?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yesterday they said that the Democratic Party was not panicking, but very concerned.
So, do you believe that this is happening?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you do?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that both sides picked two very weak, controversial candidates for all the wrong reasons, and this is what we got.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this is pure fantasy, but I think my stupid theory of we should have a third vote on the thing, none of the above, should be appropriate now.
Yeah. Yeah. Give neither one of them
Yeah.
a majority in the electoral
Stop
college.
giving the American people a choice they don't want.
But here's the problem with that, is then it goes to the House.
No, then it goes back to start all over again. You got 90 days to come up with two more candidates.
Really?
No, I just made that up.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that if they cannot get a majority in the electoral college, I believe it goes to the House of
I think so it does
Representatives.
too.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And boy, you want to talk about a free-for-all.
That would be total chaos. That would be a bar. That'd be a bar fight.
You saw what they did with the speaker.
Yeah.
Speaker's job.
Oh my God.
I mean, God, can you imagine that
Yeah.
pack of morons?
They're not capable of anything anymore.
They're not. There is so much hatred
Yep. Both
in
sides.
the House and the Senate.
Mhm.
Every single one of them is a hater, I swear. I know that's not true.
No, there's a
I
few,
know
but-
there's some good people there.
But
But they're hopeless. They either haven't got the guts to speak up, or else when they speak up, they're not heard.
Yeah.
But the loonies are running it.
the inmates are in charge of the asylum right now. One of the problems too with that is that the sensible people, the people that make sense, that want to do something, you don't hear about them.
Right.
You only hear about the loonies on both sides. You hear about AOC. You hear about the one there from Michigan. You hear about
who, by the way, is going to have a very popular
I see that.
opponent
or you
in
see
the primary.
Marjorie Taylor Greene up there with her lunatic stuff.
He missed out on beating her last time by 2 points, and his stock is going up, and hers is going down.
Well, maybe we get rid of some of those.
And you know what? Senator Scott dropped out.
Yeah, I saw that this week.
And you know what? Of all the candidates, I think he was probably the most decent man
Yeah,
in the bunch.
Yeah, he was as a person. I think
Yes,
he was.
a high moral character.
Yeah.
Now, he, however, wasn't really a politician.
That's the problem.
He wasn't a cutthroat.
Politics has become Hollywood.
Yeah.
You got to be slick. You got to be smooth. You got to have certain appeal, other than your ability to.
Listen to yourself now.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have we got for a president? What do we got for a combatant on the Republican side?
That's what I mean.
None of those things.
Well, we got one that thinks he's a TV star. We got one that thinks he's just the coolest man in the office right now. He's just the coolest man going.
Yeah.
And the other guy's even, on the other side, he's even cooler. Man, he's got all the answers for everything.
He's the quintessential bull in a china shop.
Oh, my God.
And the other one is walking through the motions eating ice cream.
The other one's standing at a china shop and wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good God. You know, my youngest son said to me, Dad, has it ever been like this before? And I told him, not in my memory.
No, it hasn't. This is all new territory for us as a country. We have never been so divided and ripped apart like we are now.
And the media, I think, plays such an important role now.
Yeah.
That they have poisoned the well. Mm-hmm. What the politicians didn't do, the media is doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you know, wherever this ends up, it's going to be really something.
I used to say that it can't be. These cannot be a threat to our democracy, but some of these things are a threat now to our. I got to retract some of the things I used to say or think that can't happen. It can happen now.
It can happen is right. And you know what I'm afraid of? Not physically afraid of. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Well,
is as a result of a tumultuous election, we're going to see violence in this country.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. The tinderbox is this close to the match. Yep. I mean, it's getting really close because there are enough Looney Tunes on both sides that will take to the streets with a gun.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know what to say. I don't know how to prevent this.
I don't either.
If I had a magic wand or if I were in power, well, if I was in power, I think it would be different. But, and today they're having a march in Washington. Mm-hmm. They think there's going to be 100,000 people there.
Yeah, I see that. Somewhere
in support of Israel.
Yeah.
Well, if there's ever 50 or 75,000 that show up as supporters of the Palestinians.
Oh, my God.
Well, all hell's going to break loose.
You're not going to control that bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, either. I mean that the bunch together. It's not one side or the other. Because it's such a passionate cause.
You know, a month or so ago, we talked about anti-Semitism.
Yes, we did.
And we talked about where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and I did a much better job of explaining what's going on.
There's no question about
it. Than the talking heads are in this country now.
Well, you know why? We're not afraid to say what we think on it. They got a set of guidelines that comes from not the talking head, because he's only parroting what corporate says. Yeah, he's got his little teleprompter there on it.
And he's got this little... Did you ever wonder what is this thing that the president carries, folks? It's talking points. Mm-hmm. He can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Okay? Oh, actually, I shouldn't have said that. He can't remember the name of the person he's talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all typed out for him. And every once in a while, Fox gets a close-up of it.
Yeah.
But it is amazing what is happening right now. The hatred
Yeah.
on both sides.
It's just like, I will let the country go to hell before I concede a point to you.
That's right. Yeah. A thought came to me this morning. I've had this thought before, by the way.
I had a thought once.
I do too, but usually
Not
my
very
wife
often
gives
do
me
I
a
get a
punch
thought.
on the head. What if we relaxed all the immigration laws for Israel and said, come to the States, live here. You're the kind of citizens we want. Intelligent, hardworking, successful people. They don't want you over there. Come over here.
Well, it wouldn't. I don't think in the long run. I'm not sure what the population of Israel is.
9 million.
Yeah, we wouldn't. It wouldn't affect our situation much.
Well, we've got we think about 8 million that have crossed the southern border. Now you take.
I read one time where we've got more Jewish people here than Israel has already.
Oh yeah.
So
sure.
Many more.
Yeah.
Now you're right. They are. You want to look at a group that's successful? Look at them.
Law abiding is another name.
Believe in education, parental responsibility, parental discipline. I mean, they got a lot going for them as Israelis, and they are tough. They're well driven. They're driven, but
driven for success.
Yeah. Of course, like any country, there's always that one or two or a certain percentage that are going to be street bums or whoever they are.
That's why we have prisons.
Yeah, that's it. But you're right. I think we could. But will they? I'm not sure that. Well, I don't know. That's an interesting scenario.
Especially if we brokered this and said to Saudi Arabia and Egypt, look, here's a way out of this mess.
Mm-hmm.
You guys broker the peace with the rest of the Arab states and make them see what we're attempting to accomplish here. And then we'll see if we can't offload the problem.
One of the hindrances to that is, I think there's quite a large percentage that are emotionally attached to Israel biblically.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the ancestors' homeland. It's where we belong.
And it's like us attached to the U.S. and have somebody say, come to Greenland.
Exactly.
Or, and pound out a new life or something like that. It would be difficult. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It might possibly awaken somebody to start thinking about what can we do?
Yeah.
I would.
Now that's an interesting scenario, though.
Yeah. Now, what if we took, I don't know, New Mexico, which is sparsely populated, and said, come and build a new life here?
Yeah, okay. That's going to be tough.
Well, they're living in the desert now.
Yeah, I know. But, I don't know if you'd want to bring anybody in and put them in a cluster into one area.
That's a good point. Good point.
Right away, they're going to go back and say, well, that's what you did with the American Indian. You sent them all to Oklahoma Territory.
Yeah.
But the idea of bringing them in and assimilating them into the society, that's not a problem. I think that would be seamless.
Yep. And we could do it with the stroke of a pen, for crying out loud.
And they would have a lot of sponsorship.
That's right. And we'd get brain power.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Doctors and attorneys and scholars.
The schools here in this country are producing the Walking Dead, for heaven's sakes.
Exactly.
We can have another thing about things students say when asked questions.
Oh my God.
Wow, it's right.
That's an interesting scenario, Bill. I would have never come up with that. You must have been up late one night or couldn't sleep.
It's probably the Miller High Life.
No, you don't drink it anymore.
No.
You can't.
I haven't for 30 years.
I always like Miller. I have to change the subject.
Yeah.
I still do.
Yeah. After drinking all the beers all my life, Miller High Life was the closest thing I could find to German beer.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. And when the Germans came over here to the Foxborough Company, they would say to me, what tastes most like German beer? And that's what I'd say, Miller High Life. And, they'd try the different ones, and they'd say, yeah, you got something there. But, well, all right. So we'll put that in the percolator and let that percolate for a while.
Anybody out there got an idea on something like that? Let us know, because we'd love to hack these kind of things around. They're pie in the sky, but they're an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes these things, from a seed or a kernel, they grow into an idea. Not that Bill and I are ever going to change society for any reason at all.
No.
We're lucky that society lets us be in society. But
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and if any of you want to be on the show and you'll behave yourselves, give us a holler.
Don't make fun of us.
Yeah, we'll make fun of you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, you have to make fun of me now.
Okay.
Patriots 2-9. You called 4 victories. I said over the 7.5. Wow, did I miss the boat?
Well, halfway through. We're more than halfway through the season, and I'm half there.
Yeah. But
now,
but if you took the under, I mean, you'd be rolling in the cash.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this morning, while I don't know what the devil I was doing, but I think I was putting this stuff in order. I said to myself, all right, so I know when it was. We'll get to that later, but the talk show hosts in Boston, the sports, are probably the lowest form of humanity that we have.
Go ahead. I guess.
And the people that call in, they refer to as the Legion of the Miserable.
Yeah.
Because they have really nothing to add to the conversation. Instead, they have a complaint. Well, I think they should fire him. Or why don't they release him? Well, a lot of money involved in this, and you can't go releasing every player that drops a ball, But so I said to myself this morning, okay, now I have got, when I mentioned to Dwayne about this, I have got to place the blame someplace. Belichick has lost his magic. We think of him as the smartest man in the world, football-wise. And for 25 years, he has been, I think. And I don't want to see him fired. I mean, such a thing as loyalty, All right, he's going through a bumpy stretch. You drive over a bumpy road to get to the smooth road. All right? These people that want to crucify him obviously are forgetting about the 6 Super Bowl banners that are hanging up. And they're forgetting about the wonderful players. Look at the coaches around the league that have Patriot roots.
You got to remember, Bill Belichick does not take that ball in his hands, go out on the line of scrimmage, and play.
Yeah.
The fact that the receiver dropped the ball or didn't drop the ball is purely a matter of fate.
Mechanics, yeah.
Mechanics, fate. And he can't do anything once it players out in the field. He doesn't have the control to him.
Yeah, but he should get better players. I mean, yeah, why did he get that bozo?
Well, you don't know when some of these players what they're going to turn out to be.
Exactly. Now,
Tom Brady sat behind Bledsoe and several other people like a lump on a log.
he was the third string quarterback in
Who
Michigan.
knew what you had there until you finally came? It wasn't that. Somebody said, well, why didn't they play him earlier when they were so bad? There's no magic formula. There's no crystal ball that's going to.
Bledsoe was a good quarterback.
That's right. But to blame and to say he's done, he's gone. He might be different than some of the newer coaches. Doesn't make him bad. We got to get to the point where he's got good players to start with. Now, Shaughnessy has a. I used to hate reading him.
I still do.
But I find him kind of. He's coarse and he's grating, but he's got a lot of points now that he's made. He's got one that he's got a saying is, how come we don't have players like that?
Yeah, I know, and I always say that.
I love that.
Yeah, I love
saying.
that.
When actually he was a Celtic or he was a Patriot or he was a Red Sox player and they traded him away. So when he says, how come we don't get players like that? We had that guy.
Yeah. One of the things that the media, the talking heads, seem to have glossed over is the Patriots lost their personnel director. They lost their general manager. Sort of offensive coordinator, but they lost lots of staff, especially the guys that worked the college draft. Mm-hmm. These guys got promotions to be assistant general managers like Casario, Jump Ship. Mm-hmm. He was the brains behind that whole operation. Well, gee whiz, those kind of guys don't grow on trees. So Belichick is taking it on himself to do way more than he should be doing.
Yeah.
And I applaud him for hanging in there and keeping his mouth shut and saying all the right things.
But organizations like that, any organization, you got the Peter principle coming into play. They get promoted to the highest level of incompetence. Once they get that, they're no longer competent. It's like a warehouse, and you got a guy out there. Your manager leaves for greener pastures, and they say, "Who out of here is Joe? He's here early. He works harder. He packs more books. He knows this and all that." So we promote Joe. What do? We weaken the warehouse staff because we took our best player out, but Joe's might be a lousy administrator, and then he's locked there. He can't go in it, and you've ruined practically the staff in the warehouse.
Exactly. And we saw last year, he lost coaching staff, so he promoted two of his cronies and said, do the best you can. And he overrated their ability to adapt to the offense. Yeah. They were both defensive guys, and they had a mess on their hands.
That's right.
Now, you don't go like that and straighten that out.
No, you don't. And I often thought about you. No, I don't listen to the talk shows.
I do, but it rots my brain.
But I do read the sports pages, the two papers. Well, one of them, it's all high school. But the other one, the Globe, I said the other day, I said, if these guys knew what they were talking about, they wouldn't be sitting behind a keyboard. They'd be on the sidelines. If they got all the answers, how come they're not a coach?
Exactly. Well, I still live in my mother's cellar. That's why.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, our offensive coordinator that jumped ship and went to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Well, he did. Yes, he did. Which didn't really surprise me.
No.
There's two reasons. One big reason. His name is Mark Davis. He's not. He is a Looney Tune, impatient, rude, crude.
Like his father.
You could tell I didn't like him, and I didn't like his father, and I like this guy even less.
Yeah.
But that terrible guy to work for.
And it shows also what happens when you lose, when you leave. Thinking here, Billy. When you leave the guiding hand of Belichick.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if I know some of you don't follow football at all, Davis is the owner of now. He inherited the team from his son, from his father. His father was a
first class loony.
Yeah, a first class.
Yeah, but had lots of money.
Oh, God. Well, you wouldn't be an owner today if you didn't.
Oh, Dwayne. Article in the paper this morning.
Yes, sir.
Cheapest creepers. We're never going to get through all this crap.
Oh, I know.
We never do.
We never do.
So let me ask you something. There was an article this morning in the editorial section of the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
Midwest is a state of mind.
Yeah. I've heard that before.
So they've done a poll. Emerson College, 11,000 people. The state of mind doesn't always break down state borders. Sure, more than 96% of Iowans and Minnesotans think they live in the Midwest, as do 93% of Wisconsin and Illinois residents, and more than 92% of North and South Dakota. But when 25% of people in Arkansas and Idaho and 9% in Tennessee and Pennsylvania think they live in the Midwest,
that's
self-identity has lost touch with geography.
That's been for years. We used to say that when I lived out in the Midwest, they would say something about somebody in Oklahoma in the Midwest. Oklahoma? That's not or one time they said Arkansas.
Yeah.
My God, to us, Arkansas was the deep south someplace. And Oklahoma was in the southwest.
Yeah. The U.S. Census Bureau defines the Midwest as north central. States along the Great Lakes and the Great Plains. The column of states from north to south of North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, and the column of Minnesota, Iowa, and Missouri, along with Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio.
If you ask the Midwesterners, the only one that they disagree with, some of them, Missouri.
Yeah.
That's getting...
Yes, it is. And when you talk to Missourians, they're a little bit more hillbilly than the Midwesterners.
Yeah, I know.
The poll reveals the real Midwest has Iowa as its center.
I don't really disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the middle, but Midwesterners are often accused of aggressive niceness and counting the state fair as the high point of the year. They come from places with more cows than people, and a landscape as flat as their vowels.
So far, I don't disagree with anything said.
They put ranch dressing on everything. The Middle West's Reviews poll actually reveals that Midwesternism is a state of mind. Geography matters less than having nice neighbors, a sense of community, and questionable cuisine.
Yes.
So my question to you.
Yes.
How do you compare New England to the Midwest?
Oil and water. Moving here was a shock. The only thing is I had a couple buffer zones in between, so it was not like jumping from a ice cold bath, but it kind of came in degrees. But still, New England was a shock. Not so much New England. Massachusetts is a island unto itself in New England. First of all, the diction and the accents aside, that you'll find no matter where you go. But The attitudes, the ideas. What I found here was the naivety was incredible. I'm thinking, my God, a Midwest politician would have, these people would be like putty in his hands. They believe all this stuff. I remember it used to be that, remember when the states would set the auto rates, insurance rates? And I was working at a fairly large company, and the headquarters was in Canton. And for weeks before the new rates are coming out, how much are the auto rates going up? And somebody said in the paper, it says going up 12 or 18%. And everybody buzzing. They'd come up and they go out 7 or 8. And everybody would say, whoa.
We dodged that bullet.
Boy, we dodged that. I said, no. They were always going to go up 7 or 8. They just told you it was going to go 18. So when you got 8, you thought you got a deal. I said, you're getting strung along here. Oh, no. I said, they're playing you for a fool. I said, you got such centralized government. You're like pawns, particularly in Massachusetts.
We're over-educated in the wrong things.
The wrong things.
We don't have any courses in college that teach common sense.
Yes, an individual thought. Like, it's this guy. Is it really raining on outside, or is he peeing on my leg and telling me it's raining outside?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's amazing. We put young people out there with a college education. They can't balance a checkbook. Yep. They can't add or subtract in their heads. That they're lost. And as they go with their resumes, look at what I did at BU or BC or UMass. And they hire them into jobs, and they're lost.
Mm-hmm.
They can't. We've become so damn dependent on the computers and the cell phones and everything. We've forgotten how to talk to one another. A good salesman should be able to make millions of dollars now because the kids coming out of college couldn't sell ice in Florida.
Yep. But as far as the thing is, they're nice to a point.
Yep.
To a fault sometimes. And that's very true. And I see it now going back for a visit. And I rent a car, Minneapolis at the airport. I pull out of the airport and I start going down. Now, as long as I'm in the confines of Minneapolis and St. Paul, which is a big city, complex together, huge. And it's got a little bit of the big city attitude. And the driving is but as soon as you get out of the area, and not unlike here, it's defined. You're going city, all of a sudden it's just stopped. And it's countryside. It's not like it diddles around here. Then you got to think, I got to change my driving habits because I'm driving like an idiot to these guys. People let you in. They signal. You come to a thing and there's a line of cars and somebody says, go ahead. Just go ahead. Or you go to a Walmart store and there's a line. The guy says, oh, you don't have much. Why don't you go ahead of me and 2 more people? Yeah, come up here. We'll go through right now. And you got to kind of adjust like I would say, get my Massachusetts brain off, turn it off, and get a Midwestern brain for a while. But it even is it to a fault. You go in to buy something in a store and the clerk wants to talk. And I don't want to talk. I want to get the hell out of there. But they want to talk. Whoa, it sure is a nice day out. Or did you watch the game last night? Something that I didn't have to care about.
Think it's going to rain tonight?
Yeah, exactly. We sure could use rain because they've been in a drought.
Yeah.
That was a big. And you're thinking, God, I just want a quart of milk. Let me get out of here. And that too, you got to get calmed down.
I am so impressed with the Midwesterners.
Well, you traveled out there too.
Oh, yeah. I've been in every state except South Dakota. And I enjoy the Midwesterners so much they're honest. Now, listen, everybody's
Yeah,
gonna.
always got to get an
Every
exception.
closet's
Yeah.
got a bad actor in it. But generally speaking, the average person is far more honest than they are here.
If you were in a store and you dropped your wallet on the floor and you walked out, somebody would chase you down to tell you that you dropped your wallet. About 80%. There's going to be that 20% would have picked it up or kept it. But that's just the kind of attitude they have or ideas.
I was sitting in the South Shore Mall.
Mm-hmm.
There was a real good shoe store down there. And I was sitting waiting to be waited on. And this elderly gentleman looked like he was retired, was getting a pair of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, they consummated the deal. There was only one person working there. It was slow time during the day. And he got up and left. And the lady, the salesperson, said, "What can I do for you, sir?" And I said, "Well, I tell you what I kind of have in mind, but wait a minute. That elderly gentleman left a package there."
Mm-hmm.
And he went off. I said, "Let me go catch up with him and give him this package." She said, "What?" I said, "I'll be back." So I did. And I caught, and he was way down.
Yeah, okay.
So I had to run to catch up with him before he went down the escalator. Him and the other fellow that was with him, a younger person,
Mm-hmm.
were amazed that I did that.
Did you do that? Yeah.
And I was amazed that they were amazed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
exactly. Well, it's like you said.
But you're right. There's too damn many people
Mm-hmm.
that would, while she was looking for your shoes or whatever, kind of slide over there and get that package. And,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I'll just leave now." And then, while she's out in the back room looking for a 10.5D.
Mm-hmm.
And if it turns out to be something good, oh boy. If it turns out to be something stupid, in the trash
In
it
the
goes.
trash can, yeah. That's right.
And that's the country we've become.
Yeah, exactly. That's
We have
although Midwest and the larger cities still they have what we see every day.
Yep.
You take if you go to Wisconsin, Milwaukee, or Minneapolis, St. Paul, they got their own problems. They got their
Do they ever? Now, and I've told you this before, Dwayne, but it bears repeating. Oh, so anyway, folks, I used to drive around all the time when I was on sales calls. I'd fly into a city, rent a car, and I'd have 4, 5, 6 appointments with different people around. So I was always in the car a lot. I put on a hell of a lot of miles in my life. And I'd tune in talk radio.
Yeah, that's a good barometer of what's
Yeah.
going on there.
In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I heard more profane racial hatred on talk radio than any place I have ever been.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And it's the college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Blacks versus whites.
Mm-hmm.
And foul language and personal taunts. I mean, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying to myself, this can't be the Midwest. I know. But what a hotbed of hatred that place was.
Milwaukee's still an island unto itself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care to live in Milwaukee. I wouldn't care. Madison's a nice town, but I wouldn't care to live there either. In some of the suburbs would be all right. Believe it or not, Madison is extremely liberal because of university and it's a government seat and stuff.
Yep.
They have a whole different mindset too than the whole state.
This station was out of Madison.
Yeah, they have a whole different mindset than the rest of the state. The rest of the state resents that too, because everything that does, not unlike Massachusetts to a certain degree, everything that's appropriated and spent is spent in either Madison or Milwaukee. They're getting to the point where they're almost joined at the hip, because they're physically. And then Milwaukee and that complex is joined at the hip with Chicago now, because the two cities have kind of merged between.
You take your life in your hands driving through some parts of Chicago.
Oh my God, yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you my Chicago stories, a couple of them, but off the air I'll tell you a couple.
Well, I know that personally.
Yeah.
I went to a Blackhawks game one time at a trade show out there, and come out, and there was nobody left. There was no cabs, no nothing. They didn't go in that area after dark.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the South.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I did too.
Yeah. The people laid back, genteel.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things...
10. We got.
Okay. One of the things I enjoyed was the Southerners pretty honest, pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
What you see is what you get. There wasn't a lot of guile amongst them. But one of the things I also came to realize, boy, if you cross one of those guys, payback is a bitch.
You're not kidding. But with the interesting that you bring about the South and they have another attitude. It's not necessarily it's bad. It's good, but again, it's alien to Northeast. I worked for Stanley for a good number of years, and we had 2 sales meetings a year. We had the national and we had the regionals, and the regionals were maybe a quarter of the country met at one spot, and then the national was in December, and then we moved there. And we were at a regional, and that was, I think we were in Savannah or Charleston. Beautiful place. I really enjoyed that. I don't remember which city it was.
Savannah is a beautiful city.
And one of my salesmen and I were in the elevator at the hotel. We get in the elevator. I think we're going down, and we're on the 10th floor. It stops at the 9th. And Dick and I are standing there, and these 3 girls get in. Friendly. I mean, really nice. And they stood a little too close for us, particularly Dick. And they started talking, and then and then we got to the bottom floor, and they said, "Well, have a nice day. I enjoy Savannah, and welcome." And Dick says, he says, I says, when they stepped in and started talking, the first thing I did was put my hand in my wallet. I says, yeah. I said, I kind of felt the idea. He says, we just are so untrusting of people, and they are just so friendly.
Yep.
Right away, in your mind, what's the game here?
But it wasn't a game.
It wasn't a game. They were
like that.
They were like that.
And
they were
know why, Dick? Join? They go to church.
Yeah.
And they're taught manners.
That's right. They were really 3 nice young ladies, and they were just trying to, welcome, had you been here before? No. And they were telling us about, you should go to this area and this area and this area. But right away, Dick says, I put my hand in my wallet. He says, I thought they were going to pick my pocket or something, because why would you be that friendly to a stranger? But that's the idea, that just the attitudes are different sometimes.
I had a friend of mine that set me up with the sales call down in Georgia. And he said, because I was looking for a distributor down there, and he said, go see this guy. He said, I'll set it up for you. He said, he's a good guy and everything. But this guy had worked for Foxborough, and he knew me well. He said, by the way, shut off the Massachusetts talk.
Mm-hmm.
All right? This guy is a born-again Christian. Not one swear. Not one risque joke.
Yep.
Not one being rude. Don't interrupt them. They don't do things down here. And this guy is a full blaster. But he's the nicest guy you're ever going to meet. And he was. And soft-spoken, but you don't act like we act in front of them and expect them to like us. I got a lot of, so you're from Massachusetts. That's what they used to call it, Massachusetts. Yeah, you love that Kennedy family, don't you?
When we moved here from Ohio, and when we moved here, we moved as a group, closing a section of the company there, moving it here. So it was, probably 50, 60 people, maybe 100 people. And we had an orientation one Saturday morning, and they told us it was just before it happened, went through the real estate markets and different idiosyncrasies of here. And it was really helpful because they warned you about certain things that were going to happen or told you. Now, my brother worked for Shell Oil in Chicago. Well, Des Plaines, right outside of the airport.
Foxborough Company had an operation
here.
in Des Plaines.
They closed that completely operation, moved everybody to the headquarters in Houston, Texas. And he said they moved hundreds or maybe 1,000 people. And they were most of them all were Chicagoans. And they had the same kind of a orientation for them. And they told them, you're going to run into rednecks here. You're going to run into somebody that are very obnoxious. But he said, they told him, first thing you do is get rid of those Illinois plates, get rid of the Illinois attitude. You're in Texas now. Start being a Texan. You won't have any trouble. If you carry down your Chicago, Illinois lifestyle, you're going to have trouble here. But he said, get rid of the plates. You're in Texas. Enjoy it.
We say people are people.
Mm-hmm.
Good people, bad people. But people are people. It's not necessarily
not totally. You're right. It's not. There is a certain...
And I enjoyed traveling down south.
I did too.
I enjoyed traveling the Midwest. I despised the West Coast.
Yeah, I agree there.
Talk about phonies.
Yeah. The closer you got to L.A., the worse it got.
The worse it got. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've Californian relatives, but they're way up Red Bluff, way up on the border, up on the north, up on the Nevada, Oregon border. I never liked the contacts we had out of the L.A. area or Southern California. You're right. They're phonies.
Yeah.
They're totally phony.
Well, folks, on that charming upbeat note, we'll give you a little break here and go take care of whatever you need to take care of.
That ends the travelogue section.
That's right. We'll get back into the meat and potatoes here.
We'll make you mad yet.
That's right.
Okay. Take care.